Hey, what's happening? Thanks for tuning into another episode of Let There Be Talk. This episode is brought to you by my fantastic sponsor, El Cajon Harley. If you need a motorcycle, don't go anywhere else. Go to El Cajon Harley. I don't care what state you live in or country. Hit them in Southern California. Fantastic dealer. How cool is that? Sponsoring the podcast. Nobody cooler than that. Outside the box, going, yeah, we want to be a cool dealer. Check them out, El Cajon Harley Davidson. They got the brand new Milwaukee 8 touring models in there. I rode it. This thing burns rubber, man. Excellent new motor by Harley, hitting a home run with that thing. They also got a killer service department. They can get you financed, man. You're thinking maybe you got bad credit or something. Go see them, man. I got financed, and look at me. I'm gangster. Anyway, El Cajon Harley. They got motor clothes, helmets, all kinds of stuff. Go see my boy Greg Radley. Follow him on, Hey, follow him, man. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And go see him, El Cajon Harley. All right, let's get into the show. Great guest today. Introduce yourself.
Hey, buddy. It's Matt Braunger. Hi, everybody.
How are you, bud?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, yeah, I've been trying to have you on for a while, but we're both fucking in and out of town.
Gone all the time. That's the problem with doing Friends podcasts. It's just like, you know, we all live here, but we don't live here that much.
I know. Where you been recently?
Oh, let's see. I was in Brooklyn. I hit a couple places in New Jersey. I'm just about to go to Denver and Dallas. So
where are you going? Comedy Works?
No, I'm doing like this beer festival with Beth Stelling. We're doing like a one-nighter that a friend of mine's a promoter out there and got me a great deal, and then just going to play Hyenas in Dallas. I've never played there before.
I haven't either.
Okay.
How long have you been doing comedy?
About 16 years.
Wow. And where are you 16?
From? Portland, Oregon, originally.
A great city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Started doing comedy in Chicago, though.
Oh, what? So, what got you to Chicago?
I just went there right after college because I had I was back when I was a pretentious actor type, and my friends were out there acting in like black box theaters, and we're just come on. And that was kind of like your working man actor city, and I was like, I want to do that. Yeah. And I went to school in New York, and everybody.
I want to be super poor.
Super poor. Yeah.
Beyond poor.
Yeah. and I fell into the improv scene from that, and then went into stand up from there. And started out with Kyle Kinane, Pete Holmes, Kumail Nanjiani, and Hannibal and the gang. So like,
wow, what a fucking crew that is.
Dude, we were like that. I mean, I look back, it's like now it's like X-Men Origins, not necessarily for me, but for a lot of us, where it's just like
you too. Though,
we didn't even know. You know what I mean? We had no idea that we were gonna. I don't know. So many of us would make it so big.
Yeah. Well, the guys you just described. The thing I love about each one of them is they're completely original, including yourself.
Thanks.
There's not like, it's not like, oh, that's the grunge era, where they all wore the same outfits and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely.
It truly is. So all those guys are in that long, huh? 17 years?
Not necessarily as long. I mean, they were like, like Hannibal was younger than us.
Right.
TJ Miller was younger than us.
Yeah, look at those guys.
But I mean, it was still from, the same, I could go on like John Roy, Nate Craig. And,
John Roy, good friend.
A lot of people, it was kind of this, weird ass little scene.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've had some things come up over the weekend, and it's good to talk to somebody because I don't have too many comedians on. I only like to have comedians on that, like I bond with, you know what I mean? I'm not just going to have a guy on like, hey, so what are you about? Everybody's already doing that.
That's how I feel, dude, because I've just started having, I have a podcast called Ding Donger with Matt Braunger where I basically like hitchhike into your life for like a half an hour, then I get out. It's like a crazy guy just jumping into your car hitchhiking. Because that's when I listen to podcasts, like in the car or on a plane, like, so I just like, let me jump into your life. And so now I'm having friends on, but I'm just having friends on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
None of us want to be an interviewer.
It's
really.
Not a promo machine or anything. It's just people that I look up to and also I'm very interested in. And those guys, including yourself that you all mentioned, those are styles of comedy that are way outside the box. They're not really, I don't really, as I get into it, I'm coming up on 7 years here next month. And
you're doing great for 7 years, man. That's awesome.
The thing is, I hit a couple things this weekend, and it's great that you're a guest today because I can talk to you about it while we're on the show. One of them was, do you remember nightmare weekend you had as far as like crowds?
Yes.
Yeah, where was it?
The very first road gig I ever got.
Oh yeah.
Ever got. Mick Betancourt, who was kind of like our kind of like godfather back then, like around our same age, but he'd been doing comedy longer.
Yep.
And he was also just at the time a stone maniac. Like now he's like sober and he like writes hour-long dramas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He worked on SVU for the longest and all this shit. His career is amazing to me, but I was waiting tables and he was like, he was the first guy that said to me, hey, you can make a living at this someday. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
And then B, at some point, he just went, hey, I got this gig this weekend. Both the headliner and the feature dropped out. Do you want to feature for me? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it didn't even enter my mind that it was the weekend after September 11th, 2001.
Oh.
Didn't enter my mind.
Wow.
Like I'd pretty much just started. I've been doing it maybe a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And like, I was so clueless. It's that thing where, I'm one of those people who I don't see the forest for the trees so many times.
Absolutely.
Where I'm just, you consider everything but the most important thing.
Yeah.
I should have just been
Are
like.
people looking for comedy right now?
Yeah. I was just like, no. And we played this place in this area called the Tri-County area in Illinois, that it was a comedy club, and then it turned into a dance club afterwards. Like the fog machines would be getting hooked up like while you're still up there.
Are the people intermixing?
Yeah, well, and I just remember every night. That was the first time I ever had one of those moments on stage where you just drop your bullshit and get real for a second.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember just saying, like, 4 jokes in a row, just ate it, and then just going, hey, guys, all I feel like doing is crying, too. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, what made it bad? Because my question is so broad, because there's so many different bads. There's bad crowd. There's your shit's not working.
Sure.
Bad clubs, sound bad. Bad booker or owner. All this different stuff. But what made this bad?
Well, it's interesting because all the guys I kind of started out with, like Kyle and I were kind of like brothers in arms. We were the ones who go to all the shows together, and like we started out like right around the same time, and our stuff, like we would laugh at like really, really weird the stuff now that's considered regular comedy.
Yeah,
the stuff that is just like
kind of edgy, dark stuff back then.
But you're talking about stuff from your perspective, stuff from your life,
your voice,
stuff that it takes someone, like not necessarily a leap of faith, but you got to really, want to look at things through someone else's eyes, which is really all I look for in comedy. I want to see it through, like if you're doing a thing, I want to hear the story. I want to hear what's going on. But this was at a time where none of us would ever, we do guest sets at like Zanies, which is the only comedy club around, and would never do that well.
Right.
And so like,
and what keeps you going from that? Are you just kind of like, you're not doing well because the material's not general, broad, hacky stuff?
It's hard, and we were also like young and starting out, but I will say, when we'd play like, a non-traditional venue like Joe's on Weed Street or this place called Quenchers or whatever.
Hijacked venue.
We crush. We do really well because people were really into like, they're like, when I think of comedy, I think of this guy who talks about how much he hates his wife.
Yeah.
This is good. This is what I like, that kind of thing. Yeah. So it took a while for people to kind of be, into that comedy in comedy clubs.
Kind of
That's
like,
I feel like right now is kind of a golden age because you can, no one thinks of Patton Oswalt as like
an alt comic
as much. He's just a guy who just does well wherever, and he can do that.
Right.
He never did different shit in Chuckle Hut or at the bookstore. He would do a tight 7 in or whatever, kind of thing. Yeah.
So you're up there and it's going bad. Is it going bad every night or is it?
I would get little laughs here and there.
Yeah. And what's the headliner saying to you? Is he happy because he can come out and smash?
No, because Mick was the headliner.
Right.
Mick brought me with him.
Right.
And Mick would do good, but not like he would do like, let's say, feature good. He wouldn't do like headliner good.
Right.
And it really wasn't his fault because he had really good stuff, but it was just such a badly run. The place got shut down literally 2 weeks later because somebody got stabbed on the dance floor, like literally.
Stabbing on the dance floor. The problem I had, and I'm starting to headline a lot now because and unfortunately, which is something I never like to say, but I need the money. You know, there's no money in featuring.
No, yeah.
And also, there was no feature spots anymore. They were just drying up. You know,
Really?
a lot of guys I worked with got TV shows, and they weren't going out anymore. And then headliners tend to have their 2-3 guys, and then that's it.
And it's also hard to, you know, I'm like, I'm about, I would say, a medium barrel headliner, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
In the grand scheme.
Yeah, you
so
don't
it's like,
have, you can't bring guys, right?
Some clubs I can.
Yep.
A lot of clubs I can't.
Yep.
You know, so you kind of just go, all right, whoever you guys want to, you know, give me, because that's just like another thing your agent has to negotiate with the club.
Yeah.
You know, be like, he can bring somebody, but it's gonna cut into his dough.
Yeah, and his hotel and everything. And
Right,
then all of a
it's
sudden
tough.
you're going
It's
from
tough.
making, you know, $6 to $2, and you're going, fuck.
Right.
The thing is like, and I'm ready to man up and fucking learn the process.
Sure.
But an hour is, you know, when you've been featuring for like 3 years like me, and you're out doing 25 with no check drop and stuff, you're just coming with the fucking fire.
Oh, the good old check drop.
Yeah.
I had the weirdest thing, like you're a store guy like me, and I got a check drop during my set. I'm like, how the fuck did I? 'Cause it was like, for some reason, a bunch of people, and it was that thing when it hits to be like a little after midnight, where people are like, you're funny, but I gotta go.
Yeah,
I've seen 9
There's
comics.
that fucking.
And it was that thing where I was like, how the? Huh? And it was literally after the person before me got off, they all called for their checks. And so they're getting them midway through my 20 minutes, you know, my little 20 minutes in. It's like, what? I can't escape the check drop.
There's an evil spot in that club of that. And it's great up to that, and then the people clear out, and then it's great again because you got the scragglers, and you can really just work on new shit and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's 2 different grades, you know. It's empty, and you're like, all right, I can get some shit done in here.
Right.
But I think that one of the problems also is when I started, coming up on 7 years ago now, the store was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
So when you went on the road, it was fucking great. You're like, all right, people. But now the store's so great, and the crowds are really comedy fans, that when you go on the road now and you're dealing with papered rooms and all that shit, you're going, fuck, I got to get back home, man, to the store, where it used to be the opposite. So now I just look at it as like, fuck, if my podcast could just make some money, I could stay home and do the comedy for what I love to do it for, the art of it. I'm not... I never got into comedy to make money.
Sure.
You know, there's people making fucking millions out there. Yeah, I get it. But to me, it really is about the process and getting on and doing the shit, you know? So I'm out there, and, you know, of course, these crowds, man, the late crowds were just fucking drunk.
Yeah.
And
Late crowds are tough.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, like, I was in Atlanta a couple years ago, and like the late show on a Saturday, I was just like half the crowd was fine, and the other half, it seemed like they'd been doused in bourbon. Like, doused, and they were all interspersed.
Yeah,
it
that's
wasn't
the
like
worst.
a section.
It's just pockets of garbage.
Oh, boy,
just pockets of garbage.
That is you when you call it putting out fires.
Yeah.
All you do is putting out fires, like your whole for like an hour, and it's just like. Holy shit.
I called a bunch of headliners after it happened, and they just laughing like, oh, yeah, Saturday night, 10 o'clock show, those suck, you know, and all that. And, of course, you know, your dream is to get to, like, a theater status.
Right.
To where you're just popping in, and it's your audience and stuff. And, you know, you're also dealing with different features and stuff that you, and hosts that you get that could set up the dynamic all wrong. Like the host isn't going, hey, look, no talking during the sets and stuff. Let's have some fun. They're just up there doing their shit. They don't care, and they throw you to the wolves, you know?
Well, and the thing is, you're, and this is a good as well as a negative thing. You're an interloper. So the great thing is you're gone. Come Sunday, you're gone.
Yeah.
You know, good or bad.
Yep.
And sometimes it's like, oh, it's so good. I wish there was another show or whatever.
Yeah, like Comedy
But
Works.
sometimes-
When I'm in Denver,
exactly.
I'm like 24 shows, please.
Jesus, yeah, Comedy Works, Acme in Minneapolis, Comedy on State, and Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah.
The stand, you know, the store, the cellar.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Yeah, there's all these great rooms around
And
there.
you'll have people that are like surprised. Like you'll do a late show sometimes. You'll be like, that was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, I've been
Comedy Addict in Bloomington.
Yeah.
It's like, boom, every
I've
single
been
show's
headlining
great.
for like 6 months, a year now. Well, I mean, over the last couple of years here and there, but
Sure.
but now steadily, and it's all been pretty fucking good. Maybe one or two like garbage can people, and I just
Yeah.
roast on them and I'm on.
Yeah.
But this was like the Sunday show.
Yeah.
I couldn't even believe what was going on. They're like, oh, we got a group of 40 coming in. They work at the billiards place, and their boss is bringing them.
Oh.
These people were just fucking garbage humans. They weren't even there for comedy. I'm like, why are you here?
Yeah. Well, those are the people that aren't even drinking for fun. They're drinking to just wash it all away. Just
Totally.
drinking to forget.
Totally.
Drinking to, you know, like a marathon drinker that's just
Yeah.
like, I just want to drink through my feelings.
Yep.
And they get there and then they're just like, oh, I got to listen to this guy talk now. I want to talk like a
Yeah,
baby.
especially
You
the
know?
girls that are like, no one's looking at me.
Well,
you know.
And it's the girl who, like, the girl in the. The other thing I feel is like the thing with like bachelorette parties, it's always the one that's like,
yeah.
no, but I'm like the funny one,
Yeah.
so I want to say stuff.
Oh,
and they don't
yeah.
even realize,
Yeah.
like they think it's just like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's bachelor parties too, but it's just
Yeah.
like the person who thinks they're the funny one, maybe they are.
It's always the
But-
construction dude. Watch this one, man.
Yeah,
Watch
watch
this.
this.
I'll throw something in the mix here.
Yeah, they'll yell like a catchprise
Yeah, yeah.
from an ad.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that makes you laugh,
Yeah,
man?
I know, right? They'll just be like, or they're repeating my bit. Nuts to butts. Ah, ha, ha. You know, you're like, oh, man.
In their mind, that's the most dangerous heckler, that one that thinks they're helping.
Yeah, they really do.
That is worse in a lot of ways than the person who's like, you suck.
Yeah.
Because you can just destroy that person without any need to look at your conscience.
Yeah,
Like, you
it's-
asked for it. You
It's
know?
rough out there. Do you ever get out there and you're like, man, fuck this?
No, in the end, no. Because look, it'd be one thing I'll never forget, and I bring this guy up sometimes, and I talk to like comics who are just like, I don't know, man, and it's been driving me crazy. I remember I did a guest set for this dude. I think I still lived in Chicago, or maybe I was featuring, and I was still living here anyway, because I didn't start headlining till like probably 2007 or 8, you know,
Right.
when I was already out here, you know,
Right.
not in Chicago.
You were just featuring the whole time. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, and hosting, like, you know, playing little weird rooms and stuff.
Right.
But this guy, he gets on stage and everything he did just crushed.
Right.
Because he was talking about, you know, stuff with his wife and all this stuff. But you could tell, it's like, oh, you've done every one of these bits a billion times.
I know,
And he
right?
gets off stage, and the guy I could see it. He was like shaking, like his hands were shaking a little
Yeah.
bit, and he's like talking to me. It was like one of those, like seeing like someone going through like the DTs, and
yeah.
I knew it wasn't that.
Yeah.
It was just wear and tear from the
Whoa,
road.
he was
and
just tore up.
He was just talking to me. He's like, so how long have you been doing it? And I'm like, I don't know, like 3-4 years. All right, yeah, cool. I've been doing it like, and he said this really long time.
Yeah.
And I'm in my head, I was like, I can't let myself be this guy.
Yeah.
Where, who knows, maybe he's on his third marriage. He's
Yeah.
paying, you know, alimony. He's paying all this stuff, and
not writing.
He can't. No, not writing.
Not writing.
He's afraid to write.
Right.
Because if he starts, you know, eating shit or whatever,
won't get hired
He won't get
anymore.
hired again.
Right.
And he's like on the edge. He's probably
Wow.
taking just, you know, the smallest check they give a headliner or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just that. So it's like, as long as I fill my life with enough other stuff to keep me busy.
Yep.
That's also comedy based, whether it's writing, whether
Totally.
it's getting
Podcasts or
yeah.
sketches, anything.
Yeah, and not having that mentality of you know, the climate of fear.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like the extreme version would be, I loved how Patrice O'Neill would be like, he's like, if a crowd would turn, I'm like, oh, you're not going to make it bad for me. I'm going to make it bad for you.
Yeah.
And he would just say his most brutal shit and
Yeah.
walk the room.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have that kind of heart, you know, whether it's
I
mean
love
or
that.
it's strong, but
Right.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like, you know, I just, the thing about comedy is it takes a long time to get really good at it, especially
Yep.
stand-up. And also, just like anything that's worth doing, you got to love it.
Yeah.
If you don't love it, why are you doing it?
Oh, yeah, I
You
don't
know?
get that, right? Yeah, I
And
don't
you
get
can,
that
You
at
can
all.
tell somebody that's like up on stage and just phoning it in.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they're just like trotting out the same shit. There was a guy I remember who hosted this show I did. I think it was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and he was great. But I was like, this guy's really funny. And all the waiters and the waitresses were like, well, yeah, he's been doing those jokes for like 15 years. And they're like, they time when to go, like, he's going to be up there exactly 5 more minutes.
And they're also in the back repeating his bits.
Yeah. I mean,
I got crazy glue. And they look at each other like they want to shoot each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's comedy is like, it's like an addiction for me. Absolutely love
great.
it. Yeah, and now I'm starting to realize that some of my voice isn't going to work in a papered room. You understand? You know what I mean? So, like, when I'm performing around here, a lot of people know who I am or whatever from the podcast and stuff.
Sure.
And then they're into the style of bits.
Yeah.
And then when you get out on the road, you're going to have these pockets of your podcast guest or friends, fans, and then you're going to have papered room. And they're just kind of like, what is this? You know what I mean?
I would say just make fun of that.
Yeah.
Just be, even, I mean, you'd be amazed at how much people love when you just rip on them.
Oh, no.
You're like,
I know.
You guys just came because someone gave you something on the street? How sad are your lives?
See, that's what the Sunday show wanted.
Yeah.
They wanted, because I felt it. I ripped on the girl. She thought she was the hot one in the crowd. And I go, I get it. I know who you are at work. You're the one everyone hates. And they're like, yeah, get her.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that for you. I'm out here trying to work an hour, work new stuff and shit.
Yeah.
So Sunday I did something I've never done in comedy ever. I stood up there, delivered the bits, and just plowed through and walked off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like anytime she would try to get something out, I would just be in the next bit already.
I've done that where it's just like, nope. I'm just going to talk over you.
Yeah.
Because when it comes down to it, no one can hear you but the people right around you. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Because your faces are all facing you.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, someone really has to be like a committed disruptor to be able to resist that onslaught.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're like, look, I have the boomstick.
Yeah, I
have
winning.
the mic.
I was winning. Yeah. And then she explodes on the club manager because of the 2-drink minimum and everything at the end of the night. So I was kind of happy the club manager had to deal with her too because they didn't throw her out.
Yeah.
So he was like, well, how was that? And I was like, the worst. You know, like nobody threw her out. I lit her up 3 times. And I think that's really crazy. I think that's what gets under my skin a little bit is when you're the product for the drinks. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, we really are.
Yep, totally.
Which is one of those, unspoken but real things, but shouldn't be too real.
Right, right.
And it's tough for comedy clubs to have, like, a lot of real security, but I do love the ones where you can just do the code, think that guy needs a cup of coffee, which means throw that dude out.
Yeah, exactly.
Throw him out. Sorry, I just spit
all
on
good,
you.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Yeah, all good, yeah. It's true, though.
But, you just throw him right. But I remember I had a show at this place called the Jukebox Comedy Club in Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah.
It's like a little rundown, but the guy who runs it loves comedy, and it's a legendary comedy club. Been around for something like 30 years, something crazy.
Peoria? That's a Richard Pryor land.
It is. And they have a really bad statue of him, but they got a statue of him, which is nice.
Yeah.
But you go. I went and walked over to it. I was like, oh, guys, couldn't, and it's
funny because
like
some statues are horrible, right? Mm-hmm. And some are great, like the Lemmy one right now at the Rainbow is phenomenal.
Amazing, yeah. But I had this bachelor party of real young dudes that kept, and they're all like arms crossed, and they kept piping up, and like everyone else is loving my shit, and it wasn't even the biggest crowd. It kept, and I just snapped, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, look, man, you guys gotta be fucking men and shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it's enough, man. This isn't funny. I'm making the moment real weird for everyone because of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, could have heard a pin drop. For like 7 seconds. So I got myself together, went back into my jokes, finished strong. After like another 20 minutes. Good night. Went back in the green room, and I'm just pacing. Yeah. Because I'm mad at myself. I feel weak because I lost it.
Yep.
But then I went out to the bar, and I was at one of those weekends where I was just like, I'm not even going to drink. And I went to the bar, and I didn't go get house, but I definitely got a fucking frosty mug.
Yeah.
And had that. And a dude comes up, like the biggest one from the bachelor party, and was like, hey, man, just want to say thanks. My buddies who wouldn't shut up are the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Thanks for handling that. And I was like, All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, giant 22-year-old.
Yeah.
Punched my head in.
Yeah.
You know, but it was that thing. It was like, oh, I did the right thing. I did the right thing. And like one by one, people from the audience who were just hanging out in the bar were coming up. Hey, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Like, whispering. Thanks.
Yeah, we came all the way to see you, man. Those
It was that
people
thing,
yeah.
So
I don't
sometimes you just it's hard to have perspective and go like, oh, I can't lose it on these people. But sometimes, I mean, I have friends who, like, I'm a friendly dude. I'll shine someone on, I'll make fun of them and go, I'll take it from here. Kind of thing if someone's talking.
Yep.
But I have friends who the moment someone talks, they're like, no, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You're making yourself look stupid. Stop it.
Oh, yeah, I know guys just like that. And when I started comedy, I was like, whoa, I'd never do that. And then there I was doing it 5 years later.
Yep.
It's pretty, I don't think I love learning this stuff from comedy. I love it, I've done over 3,000 shows, and I was talking about Monday on the episode, and, you think you've seen it all.
Right, yeah.
I go, man, I've seen it all. But when you have a whole room that is just wasted. The problem was the club I was in, their bars all around the club. So if they're at the 10 o'clock show, they're drinking at the other bars till the 10 o'clock show.
Oh, yeah.
By the time I'm on, it's 10:45. They've had a few more in the club. And this whole fucking room was like a bomb went off.
Oh, yeah.
And I just stepped up. I was like, wow. And the feature kept saying from the stage, good luck with this one, Dean. Mm-hmm. Good luck with these guys. And I was like, man, this is going to be fucking brutal.
Yeah, I had I played a club, and I had 4 bachelorette parties in the audience.
Oh.
And the manager was backstage, like, apoplectic, like, and apologetic, like, I can't throw them all out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And they were all out of hand.
Yeah.
And the comic before me did, like, okay, but then, I did well because I kind of played around and then got into my bits. And it ended up giving me, like, one of my favorite bits, from like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, I just told the story of that night a little bit. And it ended up being fine.
Yeah.
But there are those times where you're just like, well, fuck it. Like, I'm a firefighter. Sometimes the house just has a tree on fire. Sometimes it's the whole fucking thing, and I got to run in and save a baby.
Wow.
I can't not run in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have, none of us have that power to be like, I'm going to not do it.
I'm skipping this one.
Yeah.
I don't like these guys.
Old stories, but like Larry David, like in the 70s, would just walk out and just look at the crowd and go, nah, and leave.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Jerry Seinfeld
As
said
a headliner?
No, just like, like a comedy store situation.
Oh, yeah.
But Seinfeld's like, the audience didn't know what hit him.
Wow.
They're like, how dare you?
Yeah, just nah.
You're looking at them.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. You guys suck.
And it walks off. Like, that's why he's a fucking billionaire now, because that curmudgeonly comedy everybody loves.
I remember as the shit night went down, the manager's like, yeah, so how was it out there? And I was like, dude, it was the worst. It was absolutely the worst since I've been doing comedy. The worst. And he goes, well, you know what Steve Martin says? He quit comedy because of the late show Friday nights.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, I never heard that, but I was like, wow, I could see that.
Yeah, especially for
I'm not a pussy. I'm ready to take the challenge on, but it's just new to me, so I'm just like, whoa, man.
Well, also Steve Martin, when he quit, he was like Zeppelin.
Yeah.
So his late night Friday nights were like late night Friday nights
they were
at
doing
the
his
Staples
bits.
Center.
Yeah, they were like doing his bits and shit.
If everyone's hammered, in the Hammersmith ballroom, and you're like, oh God,
you come walking out and they're like, wild and crazy guy. The whole place, you're like, I'm fucked.
You do a joke they don't know. Boo!
Yeah. It's like play the hits.
Yeah, play the hits.
Play the hits. Cashmere in the stairway. Now, when you're starting out comedy, who are your guys? Who did you like?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, my parents had a copy of Class Clown by George Carlin.
Yeah, great one.
That's still one of my favorite comedy albums.
Fucking love it.
And obviously, prior, I would sneak downstairs and watch, like, through the banister. I'd watch, like, Saturday Night Live behind my parents'
I watched that shit
secretly.
Man. How old are you?
I'm 42.
Yeah, I'm 50, so I watched season 1.
Wow, yeah. Right on. Right on.
I was addicted to John Belushi, man.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe him. And then Bill Murray, fucking Caddyshack, all that shit.
Yeah, that whole National Lampoon school.
Killer.
And then, like, just in through like when I was coming of age, like high school, like Phil Hartman, watching like him in Saturday Night Live, just like insanely funny.
The original alt comic.
Yeah,
right.
For sure,
totally,
for sure. But then you get older and you'd have like Richard Pryor was eternal, of course, but you'd have like Mitch Hedberg and. When Chris Rock did Bring the Pain, where it was just like, I don't even know how he changed gears and became the funniest person living.
Yeah, man.
And then from that point, I remember it just becoming this. There were new people that I was discovering, like Brian Regan. And
you into
like,
clean guys that work clean?
Not necessarily. No, I mean it's I like people that are just really unique. Like right now, I don't think there's anyone as amazing as Maria Bamford, who is just like who's like a wizard.
Yeah.
Like when she just goes in and out of these characters.
It's unbelievable.
That I know from my life.
Yeah.
That it almost scares me.
Yep.
But it's not just mimicry. It's also like, this is a real moment in your life kind of thing.
I go see her, man. Whenever I can, I'll see she's around town, and I go and I don't even talk to her. I just go to the back of the room, sit solo, and watch the show, because it's like performance art, man.
Yeah, but like if someone's doing performance art and magic, and acrobatics,
yeah, and it's hard to be original in this game because what I loved about her was impressions, but they're not fucking Jack Nicholson and fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's her sister. It's someone she just met.
And I'm there. I feel like I'm in the living room when she's like, "Oh, hey, you wanna come back?" She's doing these things. You're like, this is the only problem with me is I've got bad hearing, so I'm always like, "What's she saying there?" You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I need those movie headphones. Those movie headphones they give you, because man, I swear my hearing is fucking shot, man.
I saw a guy when I was in college. We would used to do this thing for a class, which is like a performance evaluation, where you just go to see the weirdest art on stage and just like would write like papers about it. And like saw this guy named Issei Ogata, who's a Japanese comedian. They call him like the Robin Williams of Japan. But his whole thing is he makes fun of the status quo. So a lot of people are like, he's undermining us. He's against Japan, and it's always authority figures.
Yeah.
And so he'll do like the gruff-voiced Japanese guy. He'll do like the guy with a shitty job who just wants to be happy and stuff. And I had a thing, and we all had things in our ears where a guy's translating everything he said.
Oh, wow.
And it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I was knocked out by that, but you're like, if you can be funny in like any language, kind of thing, and he does characters, so it's a little different than someone doing stand-up.
Right.
It's like, it just goes back to that relatability thing. We had a guy in Chicago who's still out there named Dwayne Kennedy, who we all looked up to. Me, Kyle, Kumail, C.J. Sullivan, Pat Bryce, you named it. All of us were like, that's the guy. Because he was the guy who, could have been as big as he ever wanted to be. And now he's got an album out and he's trying to be a little more, forward with it and stuff.
Right. Is he like one of those guys that's just like, hey, they'll come to me, like he doesn't social media and all that kind of stuff? No, I think
he was just like, I just want to chill out. And like, I remember being backstage at Zany's being like, man, because there's a Chicago comedy festival we were all in that was kind of like a grassroots festival. And I was meeting industry for the first time. I was like, man, I sure would love to get like a development deal. I heard those are nice. And Dwayne's like, man, I've had like 5. They're all right. And I was like, 5?
5.
Who's had that?
Yeah.
And he'd already been on Letterman like 3 times.
Wow.
He's the only guy on Letterman who would be sitting there with a glass of red wine during his set. And he wasn't even much of a drinker, but he'd just have it. Because his stuff was so he had this cool accent that like he could just say this stuff about like race relations that was biting.
Yeah.
But amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
that's the thing. It's to I think that the thing I need to try to dig into next is make the material smarter. Like I love Bill Hicks where he says play to the highest IQ in the room,
Yeah. I can see that, but also I would also say, but at the same time, be true to yourself.
Oh yeah, no, totally, totally.
I'm not calling you stupid.
Yeah, no, yeah. Hey, what?
No, be true to yourself, man. You dumb.
It's fucking hilarious. What I'm saying though is,
improv teacher, play to the height of your intelligence, guys.
Yeah.
Except for you, Russell. Except for you.
Yeah.
There's no hope.
But what I'm saying is, if you're like, I'm really loving Stanhope in the last couple of years.
Jesus.
To me, he's kind of like the Henry Rollins of stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, Rollins is just so, he's not a comic, but his spoken word is making me laugh the whole time because he's opening your eyes.
Because it's true.
It's all true.
It's very honest.
It's all true.
Raw truth is often, it can be painful. It can be just as often hilarious. Stanhope just makes me think of the guy.
I can't believe
who's like he's like an astrophysicist poet in a bar, hammered, and he's just saying shit to you that you're like. You're crying, laughing. You're like, God, I'm glad we're not around a lot of people who'd be offended by that.
Yeah.
But it's like really honest and real.
It's like
no...
Bukowski of comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But also doesn't. The thing about Bukowski was like he's definitely in love with being famous and was like, I'm pretty. He'd be the guy like how Anchorman, Ron Burgundy was like, I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I could see Bukowski saying he's kind of a big deal to like a chick in a bar. Stanhope, no.
No.
Stanhope just has like no ego.
Yeah.
And but like, he loves comedy and loves comedians.
Yeah.
And,
It's amazing because I love to dig into dudes and watch their stuff from the early days. Like I'm a huge CK fan and of course Maron and Burr and stuff. And it's really amazing how these people change over the time and finally find their voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's pretty wild because I haven't seen any stand-up stuff from, say, 15, 16, 18 years ago. And I was wondering what he started out like. Now, when you started out, were you totally different than now? Were you just doing jokes?
I just remember a Stanhope bit. It was like his first TV appearance.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I think it was in L.A. He's like, hey, just FYI, if you guys go down the sewer grate outside and go through all the feces and everything down there, there's an area in an alcove down under there, right next to a dead guy. There's a place you can smoke. It was just like he's making fun of like I don't smoke anywhere anymore. It was just just like a public service announcement for his thing.
I'm reading his book right now. It's incredible.
Oh, about his mom?
Yeah.
I read that.
Well, it's it's I mean
not just about his mom.
Right. Yeah, the opening part, but that that reminds me of his first, or not his first, his special from last year.
Oh yeah.
Where it opens up, the first bit is about his mom, and I was like, I've never seen anybody be this dangerous on a special opening with a bit about we're going to kill my mom, help her kill herself.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be a joke about, so I'm not giving it away, but about something else. And you're just like, this is an amazing, I mean, to go all the way that way for where the joke ends is incredible, you know?
Yeah.
So your early stuff, were you like just, because I think back now, of course, when I started, you just want the laughs, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't have any kind of like, oh, I got to speak truth to power, man. All I just wanted to be is funny. Yeah. And that's really like all I want now, too. But, in the past 6 years, I've definitely tried to dig down and say, like, let me find some horrible shit.
Yeah.
And be a little more real.
Yeah.
Here and there.
I'm doing a bit about diabetes right now. I got diabetes, you know.
Yeah.
And it just stops the room. It's unbelievable.
But they feel bad for you.
Yeah, they also
it's from a kind place.
Right.
But you're also being like, no, but you're not being kind.
Yeah.
You're not helping me.
You gotta understand.
Yeah.
I'm fucking not dead.
It's okay to laugh.
I don't have cancer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it if I didn't want you to laugh.
Absolutely.
Do you understand?
Yeah. So I've had to pepper it with some bits inside of there, you know what I mean? And now it's starting to work. Mm-hmm. And I was telling Burr this, I was out with him a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I feel like my 3 new bits, and this is really a strange place to be in, are so real that the old bits I don't even like tell them now, right?
That's just you guys got to learn to navigate.
Yeah.
You can kind of go like, oh, let's go real, and then throw that away, and then go into whatever your silly bit you really like. Like I will like there's 1 or 2 jokes I'll be like, and it'll get a laugh, and I'll be like, that's my dumbest joke. Thank you. Like because it's like I know it's stupid.
Yeah.
But it's fun. And so like you that's a great thing when you have like, the little bit of confidence in yourself. You can go like, look, I'm doing this joke because I love it.
Yeah.
I know it won't do that great.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I always say. I go, that one's for me.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Perfect.
I don't. Yeah, it's funny because I think it was Patton or somebody early on. I read this thing. I read shitloads of stuff about comedy because I just fucking love it. I read this thing where it might have been Attell or somebody, but they said don't have your whole set edgy. Then there's no edge.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's funny.
There's no edge.
That's
it's just
funny.
like, we get it. Yeah. Then you skull fucked your brother, and then you go into the next bit about how you killed your sister. Or what.
Yeah.
And after a while, you're like,
Jesus.
all right.
All right.
You know, you got to have one really edgy bit, and then that's the one maybe you leave on where people go, God, that was great.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. And you want to have, textures and things.
Yeah.
You want to have, like, different
Yeah, you gotta have
different
layers
facets.
to yourself too, so it's not just here comes the fucking biker comic or whatever.
Yeah, like one of the genius things about Dave Chappelle is that he
good.
sounds like every joke sounds like he just thought of it.
I know.
And he might have. You don't know.
I know.
And that's what's kind of beautiful.
And even that's coming from us who know the biz inside and out.
Yeah.
I feel like he's almost like the David Blaine of comedy, where you're going, that's some next level magic.
I think he's like almost like like an idiot savant, where he's got, he's so good at this thing, and maybe like he can't, work on microwave. Like, who knows? You know what I mean? We don't know. But it's that thing where it's just like where someone there's a guy who can sit down and beat a computer at chess, and he knows how to do that.
Like, you look at guys and you go, who books their flights?
Yeah.
Because, you know what I mean? Like, who books
Because it
their
ain't
flights?
you. It ain't that guy.
Right? It's like the simple things just
And I
fucking,
mean-
they melt down. Oh, I got to get a fucking flight.
Exactly.
And then they got a genius record like the Strokes' first album, You're like, what?
Exactly. Yeah. Like Chappelle, I remember saying an interview like so long ago that he didn't think comedians had material.
Right.
He thought you just went up there and talked.
Yeah, I did too.
And so-
when I started, like I was watching guys at the Laugh Factory, and I was like, I'm getting ready to do comedy, and I was like, I know for one thing for sure, when I do it, it's gonna be new stuff every night. I seen these guys; they do the same stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And then real quickly you realize, oh, that's not gonna work. You know?
No. Like we used to try to do. We had this thing back in Chicago called the Lion's Den that was an open mic every Monday. You never missed it. And if you'd have to get there like by 6 or 7, and they'd like ring a bell, and you'd sign up and put your slip in the thing. And if they rang it again, you didn't get in.
Right.
But it was like between 30 and 50 people, everyone doing 5 minutes, and you always try to do like that was one of the things I missed the most is like having that week of going, oh God, what's my new 5?
Yeah.
What's my new little thing? I'm gonna do?
That's why I
And
love
you do
Neil
new
Brennan's
stuff sometime,
shows.
but like yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I remember Neil was like, he's like, there's no excuse that you shouldn't be able to come up with a new minute a week. So that's 4 minutes a month.
Yeah.
Then 2 months you got 8 minutes. And then 4 months you got 16 minutes. And when he put it down into that fucking small of a timing thing, I was like, fuck, he's right, man. And you think that's easy, like I'll come up with a new minute this week, and then you don't.
that's Burr's thing. He's like, all you got to do is it's a new 5 minutes a month.
Right.
And you got an hour a year. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, you think about it that way. It's like, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I also, like a lot of people, you throw shit away.
I do.
You work a joke a bunch, and you go, I don't love it.
Yeah.
I don't love it. I took a chunk out of one of my jokes, and the joke is so much better.
Yeah.
But it made the joke shorter.
Yeah,
You know what
right.
I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like,
Because there's parts where it's too wordy and all that. How do you write? Do you write on stage?
Yeah.
And do you just record it?
No, I'll just kind of keep it, like it'll just kind of keep in my head generally how
No
how I
bullet
did it.
points like in your phone or something like this one's called Volcano, and just start working it.
Kind of, yeah.
Right.
I'll add if it's got a bunch of different whistles and bells. I'll add like things to that, like
Right.
other catchphrase.
Yeah, that's what
words.
I do. Like I put the topic of the joke, and then I just put the catchphrases of each part of it. Yeah.
I don't know any other kind. I think that's how most comics I know work.
Right.
Like I don't really know anyone who. I mean, I never really knew like comedy joke writing hell until I had to do a TV set and write it all out for
you gotta
like
do
standards
that?
and practices. Yeah, and they got to read it. And it's like
if you're doing
Jesus.
Conan, you got to write the whole thing out?
Or you just give them a tape. And they watch it. And so that more people do it on tape now. But there was a time where they'd be like, no, we got to read it all.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like,
And then, when I first started, I didn't know I still don't know how to write. I just go up and I just start doing stuff, and if it works, it works.
And you go like me, you go kind of fast.
Yeah.
So like writing out 5 to 7 minutes.
Ooh,
it's like a book.
It's like a novel,
it's
right?
so long. Even just I'm saying the jokes in my head, writing it out, and you look at it, you go, "This is terrible."
Yeah.
None of this is a joke.
Yeah, because it's not
like,
a joke. But
it would be the same thing if you read like a Bill Burr thing. Like the only people, would be like, it's like Jeselnik stuff.
Yeah.
Is set him up, knock him down.
Yeah,
set him up,
that's
knock him down.
classic joke writing.
Right.
That's classic joke writing. It's interesting too because on the last Jeselnik special. Which, by the way, Anthony's one of my favorites ever, and he's a lot like I never know if he's serious or not in the hall. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
Like, hey, you want to do my podcast? No.
Right.
And just walks by.
I do not.
Yeah. I will not be doing that. And this walks on, and you're like, wait, he's joking, right?
Can I? Yeah.
Yeah, but in my mind, I'm like, what's my podcast gonna do for him? Like, hey, it's gonna boost your career. You know what I mean? But on his last special, he ended with that whole trouble he was in with Comedy Central.
Yeah.
And I asked him in the parking lot, I said, man, that was so fucking electric, the last 20 minutes of your special. Is that going to be your new direction? And he was like, I don't know, maybe,
Yeah.
And then as I watch his new stuff, it's not his new direction, but his new stuff is so fucking great, you know? It's a little more storytelling.
He kind of does both.
Yeah,
he'll
right.
He's got that story about being like so drunk in England he couldn't like speak or read the signs in a language that he grew up with. You know what I mean? It's our language.
Yeah.
It's England. I speak English. But then he'll still do, dark just one-liners.
God,
sure.
He's one of the best.
Yeah,
right?
He's always been one of my favorites. I remember it being in first time I got to know him was like when I moved here, like I don't know, God, what did I move, like 13 years ago or something like that, maybe like 12 years ago. And it was like Kyle and I in like West Hollywood. It was back when Kyle and I lived together. And there's this show at one of those gay bars like on Santa Monica.
Oh, yeah.
And you basically stood on the bar and they'd project your face onto a big screen.
Oh, wow.
And every comic's kind of doing like
of course the bit about it.
Little jokes about
put your dick on my screen.
Right, yeah. Get like high gays, haha, whatever.
Yeah.
And like Anthony gets up there and the first thing he goes is, "Sup, faggots?"
Wow.
The big smile. Huge laugh.
Wow.
And they're just like, "Oh, fuck you." But it was like,
Yeah.
he said it like smiling.
Of course.
And then he went into all his evil shit. And it was like, "Oh, you're a dick. I get it."
Yeah.
That's Anthony's thing is like he's a dick on stage and off stage he's not. Or even he's messing with you, whatever.
He's so...
But it was like
him.
that made me laugh so hard because it's like, fuck, man, that took some real balls.
Yeah.
And that was the reason it was funny is because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No one that's here has any sort of animosity towards anyone that's homosexual at all.
Not at all. We wouldn't be here.
But it was like, oh, you glorious asshole.
Yeah.
You piece of shit.
Yeah. Now you and Kyle move out together.
Yeah.
And how struggling was that? So you guys are living in Chicago, and one day, what do you say? Let's get the fuck out.
I was just like, I got to get out of here. In like the summer of 2002, and was like, I mean, I feel like a hamster on the wheel.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just time. And, people back then would tell you everything from you got to have a spec script, you got to have a writer's packet, everything. Don't go out there without
all
it.
kinds of fucking rules. These gatekeepers with these invisible rules.
Yeah. And
you can't start comedy when you're 44.
Yeah. Exactly. And I just knew, I was like, no, like I know, like, I know I can't give myself any excuses because I'll just still be working at the same bar, still a waiter, you know, and I got out here. I came out here like a couple months before Kyle did, and then Kyle came out, and I was couch surfing, and he while I was at work found us an apartment, like a 2-bedroom, which is great.
Yeah.
And what was I? I think
where was it?
It's literally 3 blocks from my girlfriend and my place. It's like
well, we don't know where you live.
In Los Feliz. I'm in Los Feliz.
Oh, yeah.
Right, people?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on Dracaena and
I get
Ambrose.
It. So,
Ambrose, where it was.
What was the rent? Like $850?
It was
Because back then, Los Feliz was
probably
not fucking good.
Shit,
Yeah,
it
right?
probably was like 900 or something like that for a 2-bedroom.
I tell everyone when I first moved here, it was $1.
You just blew my mind saying that because you're absolutely we were scraping by.
Oh yeah, of course.
We had like shit jobs. We work, crap jobs all day. At first I did catering because that's, it's like a job I can get like that, just working these weddings and stuff. And then I was a PA. PA for a production company that only did reality television.
Oh yeah.
And they would just like pay us shit and no benefits. And Kyle was,
that's why I can't believe people watch that shit. It's just they're worried about Chinese sweatshops when we've got a sweatshop right here in America, reality shows.
Yeah.
It's basically the guys on the top floor going, can you believe they're still watching this shit? We don't pay anyone.
And it's like, that was an awesome lesson because when Last Comic Standing came along, I was like, oh, they can edit it. I've seen these people edit you to look like anything.
Oh, yeah.
So you can go on that show
turn you into the evil fucking guy.
Dean seems like a metal guy. Let's make him the racist.
Yeah.
And edit something you said in the weirdest way.
Totally. Ruin your life.
Ruin your whatever.
Just ruin your life.
For ratings and stuff. But Kyle was working at a musical instrument place. No, fuck. He used to fill orders for cake decorations over the phone.
Yeah.
And he also had to cold call people to see if they needed more cake decorations.
Wow.
I remember he had bits about that of like, what is the thing you never need in your life?
Yeah.
More cake decorations.
Hey, it's Kyle calling back. I noticed that you didn't get the smiley faces.
Yeah, I was just saying if you... No? Fucking right you don't. Bye. Yeah. And then he worked at a music instrument place that just seemed like absolute hell.
Was there any competition between the two of you guys?
No, we just always had this thing of and then the last job we had, I got it first and then I got him a job there. We were closed captioners for the hearing impaired, and that job was awesome.
Wow, where was that at?
That was
TV?
in Burbank. Mm-hmm.
You just typed up the stuff?
No, just typed it in advance. So here's the Law and Order, and you'd spend 6 hours captioning it.
Wow.
It was like editing. Stop, start, write the words, put it somewhere where it doesn't block someone's face.
Wow. A lot of that ha 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 train sound right now.
Laughter in brackets. Yeah. We captioned fucking everything.
Yeah.
Girls
Airplane
Gone Wild.
Overhead. How about that? Girls Gone Wild.
Hunting shows.
Just deaf
Hunting
jackers.
shows, just hot, wet breathing. Just a guy looking at a deer, and then
hot, wet breathing.
Gunshot, and then just elk falls over.
Dead elk.
And
sad.
That job was great because they'd give us time off, and I could go. At the time, I started getting a bunch of commercials.
Oh yeah.
And so I had more money for us for beer and stuff, and so I had.
You guys were like teammates.
A little bit. I had a little more success doing that, and then I went to Montreal first, and I got a manager first and stuff. But then Kyle is now way bigger than I am, but it's I always just feel like I'm always just go team.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because none of us have any kind of attitude about who's doing better and who's doing worse. It's just look, man, I'm paying my rent and I haven't had a real job since 2008.
Yeah.
So
that's fucking win. That's win.
Exactly.
I feel like Kyle's my long lost brother.
Yeah.
Secretly.
Oh yeah. If you were
so weird.
If you were yeah, we're cousins.
Yeah.
People yeah, you are.
Yeah, it's
you are.
so weird. It's almost weird when we're on the same shows. It's is it those guys related or what?
Yeah, you're both tattooed.
It's
both got that gravelly voice.
Yeah, and we kind of have the same kind of ideas.
Yes.
Where we look at life kind of the same. We're into the same kind of music. We love BMX. It's all kinds of BMX.
BMX. Yeah. No, Kyle's so into BMX. It's amazing. We went and saw Guns N' Roses at San Diego, their last show before they left the States.
So great.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. And we had just banana seats, courtesy of the kid. Courtesy of Kyle bought them for us. And
who bought them?
Kyle did. And we're just on the train, and he was just getting into just the things that people are doing with them now, it's better than any fucking sports,
it's crazy.
And I was like, wow, I didn't know that. And I'm kind of just so it's we've known each other so long, and we don't hang out as much as we used to, back then, but that's how it goes as you get older and stuff.
Yeah, you're working, and then you both have girlfriends, so it's just you come home and you don't just go, hey, buddy, pizza and beers, fish tacos.
Well, and Kyle for a while, he was on the road so much. maybe like 2-3 years ago, like I never saw him.
Yeah.
And when he'd come home, I knew for a fact he wouldn't see any of his friends. He would just sit in his apartment and just be like, I don't want to be around anyone.
Well, you got to
like,
decompress.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's it's an amazing thing about comedy. As much as you want to start having success, when it starts to happen, and it's funny because I played music for years, and it's way different because with music, you go on tour for like 3, 4 months, 5 months, maybe let's say a year, but then for the next 2 years, you're home writing a record and you know, playing some local gigs and stuff. So you have some balance.
Yeah.
But with comedy, it takes off, and then you've been poor so long, you can't say no to like, well, here's weekend number 74 in a row, and you're like, I told you no, and they go, yeah, but look at the offer, and you're like, fuck. All right.
Yeah, and you have that fear. You have that fear where you're like,
stop working.
I'm gonna just keep saying no. I say no to jobs, they're gonna dry up.
That's true.
But it's like at the same time, you got to have that balance.
You
and
do.
thankfully, Kyle does now,
Right.
where he's just like, no, I need time. I need time home.
Yep.
Or I have a relationship now. You know, I need to preserve my friendships with people and.
Well, you do VO also for
sure.
Comedy Central, so you got to check in your mind. You go, all right, I can say no to those garbage gigs now.
But he even travels on the road with like a recording device.
Yeah, I know. That's how he does it. It's great. Yeah.
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah. No, you guys went and saw GNR, man. How'd you like that?
It was incredible. I was knocked out by what a good show
Were you a
it was.
GNR guy? What kind of music are you? A rock guy?
I was some rock. I was really into hip hop growing up. I was really like a rap guy when I was a kid.
Like what, early stuff, NWA and stuff, or or the mid '90s stuff?
No, like the NWA and
what a great film, huh?
Yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
I did too, man. I thought that could have been just complete cheese.
Oh yeah, it could have just been a mess. And I was. Parts of it was I remember those days, and I was just like, look, man, the line about we're just telling the truth of the streets. Don't feed me that bullshit again, because I didn't buy it back when I was 12 either.
Well,
there's that thing where it's just like, yes, but you guys got fucking paid by saying the filthiest shit. But also. Not like garbage shit, like even though it was fun at the time, 2 Live Crew, horrible rappers, and let's just get paid. NWA were like, you know, I believed Eazy-E would murder 3 people on the way to the recording studio. Believed it. I was like, this guy's killing people. Just like when you heard, like, you know, let's say, Kill 'Em All, Metallica, you're like, these guys are maniacs.
Right.
What do these guys do to stab people all the time? Like, it was like when music had real edge. Almost like
it's scary. Merciful Fate, you know, you're like, that's definitely the devil.
That's the devil for sure.
I used to tell a story where I went and saw Merciful Fate on Don't Break the Oath album.
Wow.
And I was kind of like sitting up in the balcony area, and I was a little spooked.
Yes.
Because I was like, hey, I'm pretty evil myself. Like, I'm crazy. But these people in here are a little next level.
Well,
you know what I mean?
in Portland, we had the punk rock scene, which was very down and dirty. And also you had, since Oregon is incredibly Caucasian, you had a lot of fucking hardcore right-wing skinheads. But
San Francisco style, too. You know, you had that punk scene at the Mabue, and it was like, whoa.
People that were terrifying. And I remember the days of the Pit, where you'd be jumping around and people would lift you up if you fell. And I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Not anymore.
And no. But there were those guys, also those guys who would do like Wall of Death or like, you know.
Or the fucking fist throwing. How about the guy that goes, this is my favorite guy in the Pit. He goes the opposite way. Just basically the opposite of the Pit, like take me out, motherfuckers.
Take me out, try me.
It's like a kamikaze pitter. It's just like
just insane. And we also had this group called the Scars that were skinheads committed against racism.
Wow.
And they were like, but here's the thing, they were almost more violent than and they were Sharps. The Sharps, I forget what they stand for, but they were also like, you know, so against racism, which is this thing where they would like attack, you know, all they wanted to do was beat up a Nazi. And I get the feeling. I understand.
Absolutely.
You want to let it out on something. But at the same time, you're being violent for violence sake. You don't really want any social change.
It's just war.
And it was just fucking war in some of these clubs where they'd be at opposite ends and it 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're like, okay, I can't be between these guys.
Nope.
I'm in a fucking.
There's gonna be some knives and pencils in your side, like
Yeah, I'm in like a windbreaker zipped to the neck.
Yeah.
At the back of the room, like, oh no.
Yeah. I remember
I'm at the wrong show right now.
I saw one of the craziest crowds of all time. I went and saw Slayer at the Sharks Arena, Shark Tank in San Jose, and this is on God Hates Us All tour.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything like this. The entire floor was a pit, and what they did was they actually bought Slayer shirts, lit them on fire, and ran around in the pit with their shirts on fire. Full-blown shirts on fire. And I was up in like the side seats, and I was like, this could be the most radical thing I've ever witnessed. This is insane.
Yeah.
And people just shirts off on fire in the pit.
Yeah. And it looks like a Saxon invasion.
It
like
was
from the
unbelievable.
I remember seeing the crowd at Lollapalooza 2, like the old one.
Oh, yeah, I love those. Yeah. And 2 was great.
2 was great.
Oh.
And I remember I was up on a hill. It was like outside Seattle. You know, this is the height of the grunge thing, so they had like Pearl Jam and Soundgarden.
Yeah, Ministry. Ice Cube.
That's what I mean. Looking down, I saw Ministry playing that.
Just One Fix.
And like the crowd started moving. I was like, oh, this is what a medieval war looks like.
Yep.
From the top.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have knives and axes and shit, but it's like, that's what it looks like.
And the stage was all bones.
Yep.
Remember that? Ministry.
Yeah, he had bones hanging from his...
On his mic stand and shit.
Like how Aerosmith has scarves.
Yeah, he had fucking
bones.
like actual real shit he killed earlier that day. That fucking video with fucking, what's his name? Just One Fix. It's got, Monkey Never Dies. It had Burroughs, William S. Burroughs, and he's just in there, Monkey Never Dies.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I forgot that he was in that.
Oh,
that's
God.
funny.
Burroughs, man, he's also in Drugstore Cowboy. Remember at the end?
Yes, that's right.
Fucking love that. And Matt Dillon runs into him in that place, and he's like, yeah, man. It's just fucking, what, man? Music is just amazing, right? Like, what are you listening to now?
Oh, right now, it's all over the place, but I like the new De La Soul. It was all a crowdfunded album. And it's so many left turns. It's so weird. But I have like a ton of, I'm like, I've been buying vinyl for a while.
Yeah,
and,
me
like,
too.
And let's see. I was listening to Cleaners from Venus the other night. It was like, 80s Brit pop group. Master Puppets. Just threw that on. Ridiculous.
Cliff Burton passed away last Tuesday.
R.I.P. man. And that was
30 years.
just probably one of my Desert Island albums for sure.
Yeah, right? It's tough to pick the best Metallica.
It is tough.
People hit me all the time. It's definitely never going to be Kill 'Em All for me. Never.
Yeah.
But it goes between Lightning, Masters, and Justice.
Yeah.
It's really...
So that's the thing. I love Justice.
I love Justice.
I have a friend of mine who's a musician who's like, he hates Justice because the songs are great.
Oh.
But he says...
he doesn't like the mix, no bass.
The mix is like...
Yeah.
It's all drums.
Yeah.
And because the drummer did it.
Yeah.
The drummer was like,
But
more drums.
You know what's funny?
But it's like, I never noticed that.
Me too. I played music and I recorded records all my life. And I think that, like... You're missing the whole point of a record if you sit down. Like, people hated Saint Anger because they were like, no guitar solos and fucking, and then they hated the next one because Lars's snare sounds horrible. It's like, who's even listening to that? I never put it on to go, well, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Man, I put it on 4 or 5 on my stereo. It's fucking rocking.
Right.
And are the songs good or not?
Yeah, well,
that's all I care about.
It's like how AC/DC had no guitar solos, but they had like a bagpipe solo.
Yeah.
No, let's have a bagpipe one though.
Yeah,
they're amazing songs.
Who gives a fuck, man? It's just at the end of the day, and Justice for All is just such a fucking like a statement, man.
Yeah.
No one was doing that. It was just prog metal. Like these songs are like 8-9 minutes.
Yeah.
They're about the most insane shit ever.
Well, it's like when you hear something like that and you haven't heard anything like it before, like which I hadn't, not really.
No.
Like the first time you hear Blackened, you're like, what's going on? And you're kind of like, you have that thing. Even as someone who has no musicianship whatsoever, not really, you're like, these guys are like classical musicians, and they are.
Oh yeah,
they really are.
Oh, absolutely.
Same as like Puppets, the starting of Battered.
Oh fuck,
you know,
yeah.
It's just like, I'm I'm at a classical acoustic guitar concert, and oh my God,
flamenco
and then
guitar.
a dragon comes through the wall.
Yeah, just like I think Hetfield is definitely one of the top 5 guys of all time. It's just I never seen a guy. I just recently got this book. It's a coffee table book, The 30 Years of Master of Puppets. So you got to see it. It's at my house, and it's a huge coffee table book, and they sold it about a month ago through their website. It opens with the bus crash with Cliff, just to let you know where they were. And then it goes into this full pictorial and notes and everything of the making of this record. And there's all these handwritten lyrics there. And as if you're looking at the handwritten lyrics, you think, and I love when people say, like, he's only like 22 when he wrote that. And it's like, that's when everybody writes their masterpiece, if they're going to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's different with comedy. I always tell people with comedy, people don't write their masterpieces till 20 years later.
Yeah.
But with rock, it's totally the opposite. Later.
Because I feel like you get older, you overthink it.
Yeah.
You have so many more experiences. It kind of has to be like
It's gotta be a gang.
little simple, and maybe a little dumb.
Yeah. Yep.
Where it's just like things just land.
Yeah. But I looked at his lyrics, and I think I remember when I was 22 and I was writing like I'm looking at his lyrics going like, how do you even come up with this shit?
Yeah.
I know he's reading a lot of books. He was about war, and of course he's going through stuff with drugs and everything like that. But just the way he does it, he's not like, hitting the streets, look for heroin, shoot it in my arm. He's not like that at all.
Yeah.
It's all this fucking intricate stuff,
it's
master
also,
of puppets.
I feel like rock culture and drug culture is like metaphors and slang.
Yeah.
Like no one has ever like, hey, you guys want to get some heroin after the show?
Yeah.
There's always some code.
Yeah.
And that can go for anything. That could be, you could reference your motorcycle.
Yeah.
People are like, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Yeah, I had a guy on here, Mark Ford from the Black Crowes, and he called cocaine chilly weather, which was the most genius.
That's amazing.
That's the genius term ever.
That's funny.
He came up to me, he's like, hey man, you know anybody that's got a little chilly weather? Dude.
That's so funny.
And then I sat and tried to name them all, Toot, Bumpy Road,
Colombian,
Snow,
Marching Powder,
Blow,
Booger Sugar.
Booger Sugar, all of those, Tweak, whatever.
Yeah.
There was so many, and all of them, he had come up with the top one.
Yeah. It's so great.
Chilly weather.
That's so I remember George Clinton was saying that Sly Stone, he spoke entirely in metaphors.
Wow.
So like people were he's like, I've never heard someone use slang better than that in my whole life.
God, that's so cool.
He's like #1 soul brother. He'd be around like record executives, be like, the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah, that's so great, man.
Yeah.
I just tweeted a video of them, Sly and the Family Stone, playing Midnight Special.
Oh yeah.
From like 75 or whatever. It is mind-boggling.
Yeah, I have like 6 of their albums.
Oh.
They're all different.
Yeah.
They're all amazing.
Next level shit, man.
Yeah.
To watch them play that shit though live, I just sit there and go like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
He's just up there, man, and his finesse on the guitar and his outfit and shit, he's just like, if you want me to stay, I'll be around the way. And he's just touching the guitar, and it's like, bow, wow, wow, bow.
Yeah.
Killer, man, wow.
Yeah, and like, even someone who, like a modern musician like D'Angelo.
Oh, yeah,
who was
love him.
He amazing, but he was like, Sly and the Family Stone's band is my favorite band.
Yeah.
To this day.
Yeah.
Of anyone. Like, he's like that because he can name all the musicians.
Yeah.
And it was like Benetton. It was like United Nations of people. You had a white guy and a black dude.
It's incredible, man.
Yeah. And
I'm looking at it and you're just like, look at the unity going on here. And then as I look
at people weren't into.
Yeah. Definitely.
There were
some
white guys
people
watching a funk band going, there's a white guy doing that.
Yeah.
And every white person being like, I hate this music.
Yeah. And it's so funny that we're still talking about race issues right now.
Yeah.
And you'd think he's up there, he's singing about race issues,
Right.
He's got a multicultural band, and here we are, 2016, 17 coming up, and it's just fucking unbelievable.
They don't, because they don't get addressed. Not in a
know.
real way.
It's weird. I was just in the
know?
Bible Belt with Burr doing shows, and it's just like, you think that, like, people, you're like, well, they're not going to think like that anymore. They got the internet and stuff now, right? No.
No, well, the internet's made it worse for some people.
Made it worse, man. Because they're just like, actually, one guy was saying the internet was actually what the devil was. He's like, it's just opening up Satan right there. And it was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got no time for that. I really don't. I could be here only 5 more years or something.
I don't think the devil has certain things you can kind of you look at and use usefully.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're not giving up a part of yourself or something. It's just like, there's a lot of helpful shit
I
on the
just
internet,
held my cell phone up and I was like, Satan Jr. right here.
Yeah, this is Baal.
Yeah.
My other phone is Mephistopheles.
Yeah,
These are lower level demons that work for Lucifer.
Yeah. Meanwhile, he had one in his hand. You know what I mean? He just, fuck. What do you got coming up?
Let's see. Just doing. I got a pilot I did for Amazon that's going to be coming out
congrats.
with Ben Schwartz and I. And it's got like Rory Scovel and a bunch of great people. That's probably coming to. The great thing about Amazon is they put their pilots up.
Oh,
so
yeah, and then you vote for them, right? Like, Marilyn Rice Cub had one up last year.
Yeah.
And if the people like it, they make it.
Yeah, well, it's a mix.
Right.
You know what I mean? They might also be like, we still like this one. Let's do it, you know. But it's supposedly it'll be up by December. And then other than that, I got a Netflix special called Big Dumb Animal that people can check out if
and
they
you got
want.
a vinyl.
I've vinyl for all my specials.
Yeah, I see your vinyl every time at San Jose Improv, and I take a picture of it every time.
Oh, right on, man.
I love you, man.
You too, buddy.
Thanks for doing it. Give them your Twitter.
I am on at Braunger, Braunger.
Yeah.
And mattbraunger.com for any of my shows.
Come back again.
I would love to.
All right,
I'd love to.
Thank you so much, and I'll see you at the store. You at the store this week?
Not this week, but I'm coming back next week. I'll give my avails for sure.
Right on.
Yeah,
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Follow them and keep partying.
Thanks, guys.
Candles lit. That was great.
That was awesome.